I'm up in Bidwell Park. It's in Butte County, California. And this is Saturday, April 12th, 2014. It's pretty remote. Be a great place for cattle to graze. I know there's a big thing going on right now in Nevada in Clark County, which is where Las Vegas is located, and the Bureau of Land Management is trying to drive these ranchers that are growing cows out there. They're trying to drive them out of business, and it's really a sickening spectacle to see. And I sure hope good prevails in this matter, and these government officials abide by the constitutional law and let these guys continue to do what they're doing and raising their cows. It's a beautiful spot. Here you can see where nature is taking its course on this little path. Hey out there. Again, this is April 12th, 2014. And I'm in the Chico area of Butte County, California. And I'm reporting from a place called Bear Hole. It's in what's known as Upper Bidwell Park. And I'm probably going to have to try to talk kind of loud because the sound of this river flowing by here with all the rocks, it's kind of loud. Tax day is coming up, and I wanted to talk just a little bit about that. Yesterday I went into the Internal Revenue Service office, and I don't know if anybody out there listening has ever been into an IRS office, but I didn't know what to expect. I kind of imagined it was going to be something like the DMV, and because evidently you didn't need an appointment, so I figured there was clerks standing by to help people. And what I found was that it was the IRS office itself was in a little office inside a very large complex of law offices. And it was very discreet, very hard to find it. And when I walked in, the first thing I saw was an armed guard. And then I looked to my right and I saw two fellas behind a desk with a kind of a window. So it wasn't, you don't walk right up to the desk, there was kind of a window area boarded off. And so just the two fellas. And then after looking around a little bit and nobody asked me what I was doing there, the guard mentioned I should take a number. And so I went to this machine. Well, it was an electronic number machine. And first I had to tell them, there was a category of about 5 different items I could choose why I was there. And none of them listed mine. I was trying to get on an installment plan my accountant recommended because I couldn't afford to pay my entire tax lien. And so I took a number after I pushed the closest category, which was to make a payment, because that was another thing I was going to do, is make a small payment. And a couple minutes later, my number came up. There was no wait, really. And so the fella helped me. I wrote out a check, and he said, well, expect something in the mail about this and your application for installment plan. And that did it. So it wasn't too bad, but I tried to educate the fella a little bit behind the counter. And I told him what I believed in was this reverse taxation plan I've come up with. You know, a plan which I don't know how anybody of any political persuasion could object to. Because as we know, a lot of conservatives, they abhor paying taxes, and who can blame them? Who likes paying taxes? And so instead of paying taxes to the government could pay you taxes. Money of which they extract from the resources of the nation, of which we all, I believe, have a right to. And the liberals, now you think they couldn't object, of course, because it's well known that most liberals enjoy entitlement programs. So it seems to me like everybody should be on my side in this reverse taxation thing. But what you find out is a lot of these people realize that really what they are is not so much a Democrat or Republican, but what they are, they represent the status quo, the establishment. And this is what they don't want changed. Not too much. As long as it's working for them, they kind of close their eyes at all those people out there who it's not working for. You know, where people are being intentionally impoverished and, losing their homes because the banks have stolen them through these liar loans and other things. And it's really disgusting to me. And just to see this thing carrying on, the status quo carrying on, the wealth disparity continues to explode, poverty continues to explode. And I just don't understand for the life of me how anybody out there can truly even believe they're enjoying their prosperity. It seems so fundamental to me that you would say, you know what? Which side am I on here? Am I on the side of humanity or inhumanity? And if I'm on the side of the system, the established system with the status quo going the direction it's been going my whole life, and I'm 55 years old, okay, with unsound currency, your currency being worth less tomorrow than today, it's very unnatural, it's very artificial, it's very contrived and conjured up. Use whatever term you will. But it is not free market, supply and demand. It is not capitalism in any definition of the word, because capitalism contains inherently a couple of components that are inextricable. One of those components is risk. And if you're stupid, and if you lend out capital and overextend yourself, then rightfully you should fail. You should fall on your face and bust your metaphorical teeth out. And the other component that's inextricable is competition. Okay, whenever you've got competition, you see competition for the lowest price, so people can always be the forerunner in providing goods. Okay? So if you've got sound currency, one of the indicators you'll be able to judge whether you do or not is that your currency won't be worth less tomorrow, it'll be worth more. That's progress. That's what's supposed to happen. We, as a society, as a civilized society, as humanity, strive to find easier and easier ways to provide our needs, to supply our needs, and hopefully then some, so that we're on easy street. So we know we have safety and security and prosperity for everybody, for our children, for their children. And that's the situation we have, where we have an abundance of supply, but we have austerity imposed on us. It's a form of rationing. It's rationing based on the terms of a lying gaggle of murderous thugs, these money printers, at the very top, these policymakers. And the politicians are just whores, rubber stamping whatever they say, whatever they want, because they got the power of the printing presses. And then the mainstream media, who get paid very well and don't want to rock the status quo boat, they go right along with this scheme, this charade. And then the universities are involved, the entire educational system. So people are all completely inculcated with lies. Our entire system is inundated with bull, lies, and deceit. Okay, that's what we fundamentally have to understand, that none of this makes any sense at all. But they can continue to tell us somehow it makes sense. Somehow the chaos has to be there. I mean, people can hardly imagine a world without money. But every other creature out there does it. And we're exponentially, unfathomably more intelligent than every other creature. And we can't figure out how to get along with each other in peace and harmony without messing up the planet? It's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous notion that I refuse to believe. I plan on going to a world which is a society of people that are like-minded, people that crave freedom and liberty and justice and mercy. And they want peace and harmony. They want safety and security, not for some. You can't be satisfied if it's for some. It's got to be for everybody. And then we've got to ask ourselves with ruthless honesty, what role will money play in that world? So this is why I harp and harp and harp on sound currency. It's so imperative to have this, to gradually have that freedom I'm talking about. You'll never have it as long as it's unsound. You'll continue to see the problems grow. The fear factor, that financial insecurity will continue to grow as more and more people live under the yoke of oppression. This perverted form of fear that's being foisted on the public. Like it or not, this is the way it is. And until humanity gets control of printing presses and has checks and balances and says, wait a minute, it's not enough to give cost of living adjustments to the workers, which is completely justifiable if you've got inflation. Just to tread water, just to maintain a basic standard of living, you've got to do that. You cannot have your prices going up without your wages matching it. Okay, and the best gauge, the best metric out there is the price of silver. And in 1963, an ounce and a quarter of silver roughly was $1.25 an hour. $1.25 is what it was. And the minimum wage was $1.25 an hour. An ounce and a quarter of silver roughly, I say roughly because it varies by the purity of the silver. But it was at least an ounce. It was over an ounce. We had silver dollars, silver quarters, and silver dimes back then. And it was circulated, even the notes that Kennedy had printed out, these silver certificates were being circulated, and everybody was using these things. It was just like an ounce of silver, for the most part. So if you want to know what has happened in that time, an ounce of silver today goes for $20. Okay? In California, gasoline, regular gas, is going for close to $4 a gallon. So it'll buy you roughly 5 gallons of gas, $20, 1 ounce of silver. And back in 1963, where gasoline was roughly about 20 cents a gallon, it would buy you 5 gallons of gas. So it's a very, very accurate gauge of what wages really should be. Inflation in this country, in that time period, has run some 2,000%. That's what that increase is in gasoline prices. To go from 20 cents a gallon to $4 a gallon is 2,000%. Wages have gone up barely, to be generous, have gone up 600%. Do you understand how dramatically we've been taken and inculcated to believe somehow this makes sense? And that now, even though the gas companies, the oil companies are selling far less gasoline than they were 15 years ago in America because of fuel conserving vehicles, okay, they say, well, we got to compensate. We can't just lose those profits. What will our shareholders say? So they price rig, they price fix, they manipulate markets, and they say, no, this is what we want. We want to get the same price. So what do they charge? Okay, they jack up the prices, even though there's no disruption in the supply chain. They feel justified because they say, well, just to have that same amount of profit, we need to raise our prices because the use has gone down, demand has gone down. So to compensate, we're going to charge X amount